Cancer, this is a tarot reading for all of 2024. Because it's for the entire year, it's going to be about big issues. So forgive me for focusing on global issues. But of course, we've all been through tumultuous times, to say the least. These didn't seem to enter my readings so strongly until last year. Because, of course, what we're picking up on here are energies that we feel. And I think there's been a slow realisation on how we've been lied to, how we've been duped, and how we continue to be manipulated using fear porn. And that's having a profound effect on many people. And it's these energies that I pick up on in my readings. So forgive me if I do go on too much about these global issues. But they do feel incredibly important now. I mean, I was picking up on them as they were happening. But there seemed to be fewer people aware of what was really going on and the consequences. Whereas now, it's overwhelming. What I would say to you is that I'm not an astrologer. I mean, I know astrologers. I could learn it. But I'm not, I do a lot of meditation, and that's how I do this tarot reading, as a result of doing meditation and understanding the world. So therefore, even though it's a year, I cannot tell you this is going to happen in December. I mean, obviously I do my December, January, what have you, readings, and that's the appropriate time to find out. So I can probably only say this is most likely to be 2024. This could be at the beginning, this could be at the end, this could be at the middle, but not be more specific than that. And in my experience, the paranormal is rarely so specific about time, which after all is a man-made construct. Equally, however, unlike other readers, I certainly don't claim to be channeling. I'm not aware that I'm channeling. I mean, of course, people might argue that I'm unaware of it, and of course I'm channeling, and, I suppose it's possible, but I'm absolutely not aware of it. I'm not trying to channel. No, it comes from my heart, and that's how I read. So if we look at your reading, it does look interesting. Like so many of us, you're going off in search of something creative, something new, a new way of seeing things. I mean, you're aware that the world has changed. We're all aware that the world has changed dramatically. And I think you're trying to steer a path on how you should respond to these changes. The past, for most of us, was a better time. A time when you at least felt wealthy. Whereas the squeeze is apparent on us all right now, isn't it? Will we even have money soon? But right now you're scoring some victories. These are battles, not wars, but you're scoring some victories. There's some positive signs. In the future, I think you do get the information that you're seeking. It will come to you what you're seeking out, but it's going to take time. And as I say, time is a human construct. The paranormal won't respond just because you're anxious. In fact, it's less likely to. Again, like so many of us, you have an important decision to make. I don't know what this decision is about. I keep getting this energy, and I've concluded, but maybe wrongly, and of course it's personal to me, that it's something of a choice between spirituality and materialism. But I don't know if I'm right even about me, let alone you. What would change the outcome is you using the information you're getting to act. I wonder if that suggests that you don't take this decision, because you see the outcome isn't a good outcome. I mean, it might be temporary, you know. It's you having nightmares. You're frightened of something. You're waking up in the middle of the night worried about something. And who could blame you with all this fear porn that surrounds us? But is that what you're really worried about? Because you see, if you took action, you could avoid this worry. Maybe it's just about busying yourself. I often find when I'm concerned, overthinking about something, if I just throw myself into doing something, even something mundane, like the garden. Well, is gardening mundane? Probably it's the opposite, isn't it? But you know what I mean. Throw myself into something and my worries go away. Looks interesting. Stay around while I unpack this. Cancer. And the overall energy of this spread is of you looking for creative ideas, maybe not even solutions as much as creative ideas to understand all that's happening in the world and how it's affecting you. And I think we're all doing that. You know, I prefix this about the tumultuous times we live in. But it's now very apparent that times have changed. I don't like the word waking up, but people are waking up to very strange things happening in our lives. And we're trying to make sense of it. And I think that's what you're doing. You're looking for some creative way of looking at this. And I'm going to illustrate it with my own thinking. And it is just my thinking. It doesn't have to be your thinking. Don't have to be right. I'm just illustrating how I'm thinking at this moment in time. And I came across something that I found very interesting called the handy model. Now, it means the human and nature dynamics model. So it's not named after, I was just about to say the British, but I find he's actually Irish philosopher Charles Handy. No, it's who was very much concerned with organisational development. No, it's a model of human and nature dynamics. And in this model, it's suggested that there are, can we call them competing resources? They're not necessarily even resources. Competing things, for want of a better way of saying it. And those are nature, wealth, and humans. The humans are split into the common people and the elites. And it suggests that as we exploit nature more, we gain more wealth, which is something that a concept I've been toying with for a long time, that in creating economic development, yes, there are winners, but there are also losers. And as a result of the greater surplus that we create, then we see a growth in population. But then there is a growth in the elites who don't serve any purpose other than to waste the wealth created by the commoners. And what it suggested is that the elites grow to such an extent that they actually take so much wealth from the commoners that we begin to see population decline. And of course that's just started. Now you might argue, well, wealth is still increasing, but is it? Or is that just a product of the money supply? Because of most of us, our lives are nothing like as wealthy as they used to be. But The model is something of an Armageddon type model because it suggests that as the elites grow, and I think this is the power of the elites, because actually even the elites are becoming cannibalistic and turning on themselves. But the power of the elites grows to such an extent that they destroy everything. They destroy nature, they destroy wealth creation, they destroy the population, and eventually they destroy themselves. And now, even though there are signs that that's happening, I think we're a long way from it. Now, what I don't see in the model is this firm Armageddon sort of thing. And that is because Armageddon is quite a recent phenomena, or the idea of Armageddon as total collapse, because of previously man always saw things in terms of cycles. So yes, there have been catastrophes, but we've always bounced back. Now that's not diminishing the problems it causes those, at the front of what's going on, or those most affected by it. But things go round in cycles and they always bounce back. So my own take on this is that we need to start creating a society that is not based on supplying the elites with the wealth that the rest of us are creating. We need to turn our back on the system that they've created, because it's clearly no longer working. And, there is the potential for Armageddon, but I'm much more positive about it. As I say, that's just my way of seeing things, but it's something of a creative way that you yourself are seeking right now. Now, of course, the handy model suggests that as a result of exploiting nature, for want of a better way of putting it, we all become wealthier. But that begins to stagnate. And I think you're acutely aware of that. I think you're aware that in the past, you felt a lot wealthier. Things felt better in the past. We're all feeling the squeeze. And, if the handy model is correct, it's because the elites have become that little bit too greedy, taking too much from us and sending us all into financial difficulties and problems. The inequality is becoming a problem in itself. So you look to the past as a time when you were wealthier, when you could find money relatively easily. It was almost a golden age for you. And Cancer, despite you struggling somewhat, as we all are, you are winning some battles. You're well aware these aren't wars, but you're winning some battles. I don't know if this is in terms of finances. I don't know what it is. But you are gaining some ground, as it were. People recognise that you're doing this. Maybe it's in terms of your understanding. Maybe, like me, you've developed something like the handy model, and your other people can see that you have a greater understanding of what's happening than they. And maybe it's just in terms of personal things, but you're doing okay in 2024, despite things being something of a struggle. Now, I did say I didn't know if these minor victories, if you like, were about money, personal life, or about ideas. But maybe they're about ideas, because in the future, the inspiration does come to you. You get the information that you require to make sense of what's going on. And of course, you have been searching for it. So you're going to grasp something which is very important. And you've been, of course, the whole thing is about you seeking this inspiration, seeking something creative. And it is going to come to you in 2024. So that's a very positive sign, I'd say, for you, Cancer. And what leads to the outcome is you facing an important decision. It's a decision whereby you don't feel there's a right or a wrong. Both paths seem equally plausible, equally good or equally bad. And you don't feel able to take this decision. You're somewhat blindfolded in taking it. I think fear is an important factor in it. I also think that you probably avoid taking the decision. I think you don't actually take this important decision. What is it? Well, again, I can only illustrate from myself. And that is my future a spiritual path or a more materialistic path? And I think that is the sort of decision that we all need to take. And it probably is playing on most of our minds because we know things have changed. We know the old materialism doesn't work. But what actually are we to do about it? As I say, I don't think you actually take the decision. Now, one of the reasons why I say I don't think you take the decision is the card or the energy which changes everything is the Ace of Clubs or Ace of Wands, which is a card of action. So if you're having to take a decision leads to the outcome, whereas what changes the outcome is taking action, it's suggesting to me that you don't actually take it. And the way to avoid the outcome is to do something. And sometimes, we don't know that what we're doing is the right thing, but it's better to do something than to do nothing. And I have a very strong feeling that that's what this is telling us. So if we think of, my handy model, for example, what should we do if you subscribe to that, my view of the handy model at least? Then we need to do something about creating an alternative rather than just hanging around waiting to see what happens, because the model does predict Armageddon. So if we do nothing, then maybe there will be Armageddon. No, we need to create an alternative ourselves. So this is just saying that you need to do something at least. Because the outcome isn't a great outcome. Certainly not for an entire year that this is the outcome. Because the outcome is one of nightmares. And now, of course, we're all subjected to this fear porn. And I suppose me, in using the handy model, which is a model that is about Armageddon, it doesn't help. And I don't want to fan the fires of this fear porn at all. But you're waking up at night worried, you're waking up at night thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I suspect you're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about humanity. I think you are thinking of broader issues, Cancer, I really do. But we don't really know enough about it. I think it is because you haven't taken this decision, however, and you need to be doing something. I think that's the message that's coming out of this. But we need to get some clarity on these nightmares, because it isn't great to have this outcome creeping in. Well, okay, I'm not saying you're having nightmares for the entire year, but you know, on such a long-term reading, it's not a great outcome. And yeah, I seek clarification on this card of nightmares. The first card of clarification is the Queen of Wands. Working with others, or maybe it's more about you leading others. It's a double-edged sword. I'll come to that when I describe it in full. The next one is the Knight of Pentacles. Things moving very slowly. You're determined. You probably will get the job done, but they're moving very slowly for you. And the final card is the Seven of Wands. And, you know, it follows on from that Six of Wands, you scoring some victories. But now you're making other people jealous. And as I say, the first card is this Queen of Wands. It would, on the face of it, suggest to me that you did take a decision and you're regretting the decision you took. But maybe I'm wrong. It may be what you're worried about. And that is that she's somebody who inspires and leads others. But she can also be seen as being manipulative with others. And it's a very fine balance. And I think you're worried about that balance. Now, if we are to create an alternative society, create alternatives to what we're being proffered, then people who can lead do need to lead. And leadership does imply that you will make some people unhappy, but you need to incorporate people as best you can. The next card of clarification is the Knight of Pentacles. Now, he's admirable, he's determined, he's someone you can rely on, he gets the job done. So you are determined to do something, but it's all happening so slowly for you. And of course, when we do decide to work with others on creating what is our vision, it is painfully slow. Maybe you think my handy model is a load of rubbish. Can you imagine me trying to inspire people based on my handy model when most of you feel that it's nonsense? Maybe some of you believe in biblical Armageddons or Quranic Armageddons, and you see me as some sort of a charlatan, you know? So it would go very, very slowly, and I think you're frustrated with the slowness. I think you're frustrated that things aren't working, and it's that that's giving you nightmares, because you feel that you've got the solution, but it's just not happening. Do you remember we had that Six of Wands card, which was you scoring some victories, people recognising? So I think people do recognise that you have a solution, but they're now becoming jealous of you. And I think it's because you're somewhat using people. Your vision might be a good vision, but you're not bringing people along with you. And that's causing conflict. Maybe the conflict is simply they're jealous of you. Oh, I wish I'd thought of that. Or why? Because he just had these ideas. Should we follow him? Or, you know, as I say, maybe they're coming at it from a biblical or Quranic perspective. But whatever, people aren't falling into line and you're causing disquiet. And this is what's giving you nightmares. And if you remember what offset it was action, was that you should ignore these and get on with it. I mean, you can't do what you want to do without people. And it would be better if you could find a better way of working with them. But there's also the suggestion that you do need to do something. Don't give up. Cancer, 2024 is going to be an interesting year for you, to say the least. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I won't hide it. It is likely to end up in you having nightmares. Now, I'll come to why later, but I think they are avoidable. And I think to a certain degree it's a case of living with certain things. In the past, I think you felt you were wealthier than you are now. Like us all, you're feeling the pinch somewhat. And so you look to the past as a golden age. But nevertheless, you are scoring some victories. Now, it could be in terms of money, but I'm not sure it is. I think it is in your ideas, because you're searching for very creative ways of analysing what's going on in the world, what's happening to not only you, but everybody, to humanity. And people are recognising that you do have these ideas. And ultimately, some real inspiration is going to come to you. It's going to be like that, Oh, yeah, I get it now. And that's going to leave you with a important decision to make. An important decision about how do you act. And there's a possibility you don't act, but I think you do act. But I think in acting, you do a number of things. One is you tend to use people a little, rather than really getting them on board. Remember, your ideas are quite creative. So how can you expect everybody to immediately comprehend them? And that leads to the ideas or the action that you're promoting going very slowly, much slower than you'd like it to. But it also leads to conflict. People are jealous of you. I think you've not engaged people well enough. But the universe is sort of saying, well, keep acting, keep at it. So just overcome your fears. The universe is saying, just keep at it. If your ideas are good, you need to act. Clearly you need to lead by example. You need to try and bring people on board with you. But, even if it does, even if the pressure of this sort of leadership that's come as a result of your creative thinking causes you to have nightmares, the universe is encouraging you to overcome them. Push through these nightmares, because you are doing the right thing. You are Cancer. Your ideas are good. So a very interesting 2024 for you.